The Newsday continues here on One News Now Business. I'm Diego Castro. Here are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate fronts. The International Monetary Fund expects the Philippines to post the fastest economic growth among some of its neighbors this year. Business World reported that the IMF raised its 2023 gross domestic product growth projection for the Philippines to 6% from the 5% given in January. It noted that this is the fastest outlook among emerging and developing Asia economies, surpassing India's 5.9% and Vietnam's 5.8%. The multilateral lender, though, lowered its 2024 GDP growth projection for the Philippines to 5.8% from the previous projection of 6%. It cited downside risks from central banks' tight monetary stance, high debt levels, limited fiscal buffers, commodity price spikes, and geopolitical tensions. On an international level, the International Monetary Fund expects the global economy to grow slower than initially expected. IMF's chief economist discusses the factors behind the lender's decision to lower its 2023 global GDP forecast to 2.8% from 2.9% previously.
The global economy remains on track for a gradual recovery from the pandemic and Russia's war on Ukraine. China's reopened economy is rebounding strongly. Supply chain disruptions are unwinding, while the dislocations to energy and food markets caused by the war are receding. The massive and synchronized tightening of monetary policy by most central banks is starting to bring inflation back towards its targets. At the same time, serious financial stability-related downside risks have emerged. In our latest forecast, global growth will bottom out at 2.8% this year, before rising modestly to 3% next year, almost unchanged from our January projections. Global inflation will ease, although more slowly than initially anticipated, from 8.7% last year to 7% this year and 4.9% next year. This year's slowdown is concentrated in advanced economies, where growth is expected to fall to 1.3% this year, before increasing modestly next year. By contrast, emerging market and developing economies are already pushing ahead in many cases, with year-end growth accelerating to 4.5% this year from 2.8% last year. The recent banking instability reminds us, however, that the situation remains fragile. Once again, downside risks dominate. First, inflation is much stickier than anticipated, even a few months ago. While global inflation has declined, this reflects mostly the sharp reversal in energy and food prices. But core inflation, excluding energy and food prices, has still not peaked in many countries. It is expected to decline to 6.2% this year, still well above target.
Foreign direct investment net inflows slumped to a 20-month low in January. According to data from the Bangko Sentral, FDI net inflows plunged to $448 million in the first month of 2023. This is nearly half of the figure posted in the same month of last year. The latest figure is also the lowest monthly FDI inflow posted since the $426 million recorded in May 2021. The Bangko Sentral says FDI inflows declined amid global economic uncertainties and heightened inflation, which continued to weigh in on investor decisions. The country's trade deficit narrowed to its smallest in 3 months in the month of February. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority showed that the trade gap shrank to $3.88 billion in February. That's lower compared to the $5.73 billion in January and the slimmest since the $3.72 billion deficit in November 2022. Merchandise exports fell 18.1% annually, the steepest in 33 months or since the 26.7% fall in May 2020. Imports slipped 12.1% from a year earlier, the sharpest in 27 months or since a 13.5% decline in November of 2020. The Transportation Department eyes to complete the maintenance of at least 18 airports by June. DOTR Secretary Jaime Bautista said this will be completed before President Bongbong Marcos delivers his second State of the Nation address. Bautista added that they are on track to finish at least 20 ports and various road sector projects, including the construction of mega bike lanes. The Secretary also confirmed the finalization of different contract packages for the North-South Commuter Railway and Metro Manila Subway.
Most of these are aviation and road sector projects, no, and maritime projects, no. We're looking at completing airport maintenance around 18 airports in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, no, must be completed. The projects will be completed by June.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Jago Castro. The Oil Industry Management Bureau says the Philippines has yet to see hitches in its oil supply. The agency made the assurance after a major fuel price hike this week, following the announcement by OPEC Plus countries to cut their oil production by over 1 million barrels per day starting May. According to the Bureau, the oil market is doubtful whether the OPEC Plus countries would push through with plans to reduce oil output.
Wala pa hong crunch ngayon, and the market now is really doubtful that they will be able to deliver the 1.66 when actually they were not able to deliver the 1.2 originally way back November. So this is really there's no supply crunch. To cut it short, there's no supply crunch unless they're really able to reduce around 2.8 million.
The Bureau also says a rollback in fuel prices is possible if the current crude oil trading price is maintained.
Their plan is doubtful at this point in time. So the market is reacting. As I've said, the Monday trading price has now gone down. In fact, if we continue this trend up until Friday, then we will be expecting rollback next week.
Here's some good news. Meralco customers can expect lower power bills this month. The power distributor said that electricity charges will go down by 12 centavos per kilowatt hour this month due to lower generation cost and improved grid supply. This means that a household consuming 200 kilowatt hours can expect a 24 peso cut in their power bills. However, Meralco still can't say whether we can expect the same rates next month since there is still high demand this dry season.
It's very difficult to really come up with a definite answer to your question because we really need to wait for the final billings coming from all our suppliers. So pag mainit yung temperatura, mataas din yung demand sa kuryente kasi mas maraming gustong gumamit lalo ng mga cooling devices. Mas mataas yung demand, tataas din yung presyuhan sa spot market.
Globe Telecom and Smart are appealing for an extension for SIM registration. Globe reports that 27.85 million, or only 32% of its customer base, have registered 2 weeks before the April 26 deadline. Globe attributes the low registration to lack of government IDs and challenged digital literacy. Globe Telecom says an extension would give their subscribers more time to obtain the necessary identification to register their SIMs. As of April 10, the Department of Information and Communications Technology says there are 65.15 million SIMs registered. The latest figure is barely 39% of the 169 million subscribers nationwide. For its part, PLDT's wireless unit Smart Communications and its value brand TNT said they are filing a formal letter of request to ask the DICT and the NTC to extend the deadline. Smart says the request seeks to give ample time to users, particularly those living in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, to register their SIM cards. Smart says it has set up hundreds of assisted SIM card registration booths in far-flung municipalities across the country. On to some global tech updates. Twitter no longer exists as an independent company after it merged with Elon Musk's newly formed shell firm X Corp. The move is driving speculations about what Musk has in store for Twitter. The full report courtesy of Bloomberg TV.
What are we expecting then for Twitter?
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation. Essentially, they merged with this company called X Corp, and so that means that they're technically called X now. They may still do business as Twitter, meaning they're using the Twitter name, but they are technically called X. And that's sort of been part of Musk's vision for a while.
Is this
I guess what is the broader game plan, right, when it comes to what Elon Musk is trying to create with this, I guess, desire to make X similar to, I guess, WeChat in terms of the different business units that form the whole?
Yeah, so Musk has talked in the past about creating an everything app or a super app. So taking the current capabilities and then adding in things like payments, or as you know, WeChat, you can book event tickets and do all sorts of things. And so he's been pretty vocal about the payments part of it and sort of having that as part of his vision. Obviously, he comes from PayPal back in the day. And so he's had this vision for a long time of having an app where you can go and do anything that you might want to do right in one place.
Any insight right now on what happens to Elon Musk's schedule? We know that he's been very busy managing different companies at the same time.
Yeah, we'll see how he sort of manages this. I mean, it would be another thing to add on to Twitter. He already has a lot on his plate, as you mentioned, and payments is a whole other business. It's outside of Twitter's core business. So it'll be interesting to see how he manages that, if that is his vision moving forward.
And those are the top business stories of the hour. I'm Diego Castro. Join us again at 2 p.m. We are One News, all sides, all the time.